Well, Rita and James, all the leaderships are happening this week. Very exciting. Both Matt Canavan is going for the Nationals leadership. Let's talk about that first, Rita.
Yes, overdue. I think it's precisely what we need to see from the Nationals. The Nationals did well at this election campaign, unlike their coalition partners who did horribly. As we've been talking about, it's kind of amusing to hear the likes of the Greens talk about the Liberals becoming MAGA, extremist right, Trumpian. When the Liberals went into this election with smaller Liberal policies where they were Labor light, this is what their biggest donors are telling them and saying, we're pulling our money out because if we wanted a Labor light political party, we've already got one. We don't need another imitation of Labor.
They got two. They got the Teals as well.
Yeah, so this... Every time the Liberals go into an election, whether it's at state level or federal level, and they run on smaller Liberal policies where they try to veer to the centre or to the left, and they get absolutely smashed, the advice from the political pundits is, oh, well, you're too far right. You need to go more left. It is incredibly just asinine. We see it every single time. We've seen it in Victoria last 3 elections. And let's hope they learn the lessons and we don't have another smaller Liberal, moderate, Malcolm Turnbull-esque in a skirt leading the Liberal Party. Matt Canavan, I think, is precisely what the Nationals need, and it will give them some clear policy direction, particularly when it comes to the crucial issue of net zero.
Absolutely. James.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm glad, Rita, that you mentioned the Nationals and their performance in this election, and I'm glad that you mentioned Malcolm Turnbull, because to me, there's a great analog between what just happened here and 2016.
Yes.
The Liberals did not lose government, but they barely hung on. And they only hung on, and it killed Malcolm Turnbull through his entire premiership, that only with the fact that the Nats held every single one of their seats, and the Liberals went way backwards. And that's exactly what we had happen here again, but just to a more extreme version. Now, Peter Dutton, let's be fair to him, he's no Malcolm Turnbull, right? Let's.
He tried at this election.
Well, he tried maybe a little bit, but the problem was that there was no articulation of clear liberal values. And the thing is, liberal values are actually very straightforward. They're about liberty, they're about aspiration, they're about, sensible policies that help people get ahead, and it's about people making their own choices in their own life rather than, as the Labour and the Albanese government say, the government has to be with you at every step of your life. And so these are not complicated things. They're not hard to articulate. But my real worry here for the Liberals is that, they're going to take, as you suggested, Rita, entirely the wrong lesson from this. And they're going to go and they're going to say, oh, well, we need to have less and less difference between us and Labour, who has now got the chance to set the dominant narrative in the country, which is very dangerous. And I mean, Rowan, look, you come from the world of advertising. Product differentiation is what you need. And in a preferential system, in a country with a voting system like ours, there really needs to be clear air. If you go down this sort of small L liberal route where you just try and be all sensible centrist and to figure that the voters will be attracted to you, not the other people, well, you wind up in the situation as, say, Mark Speakman is here, who's the opposition leader in New South Wales, who is proudly a centrist and says, oh, the party needs to go to the centre and dump this and dump that, and basically just run again, as we all say on this program, as Labour light. Well, Mark Speakman, no one believes that he will ever be premier of this state.
If I lived in New South Wales, my vote would be going to the Mins. Why would you vote for someone who is half pregnant, someone who doesn't actually have a principled position? At least with Labor, even when they go a little bit wacky with some of their policy positions, it's what they believe in. When you've got the Liberals being Labor light, it is inauthentic as well as being weak and unprincipled.
I think that's the key point,